The night the eastern bridge finally breathes, I almost get caught. I'm standing on the railing, toes over the edge, concrete cold under the soles of my sneakers. The river below is an open mouth, black and hungry, gulping down the reflections of distant neon. Wind claws at my hoodie, at the spray cans on my belt, at my sanity. In front of me, on the raw concrete pillar of the bridge, my newest mistake is almost done. It's a beast without a face, long, sinewy limbs curling around the pillar, like it's trying to climb out of the concrete itself, ribs torn open into jagged petals, a chest cavity exploding into wild, strokes of neon blue and acid pink, like its heart detonated mid-beat. No eyes, no mouth, just blank white where a face should be, like someone erased its identity but left all the hurt. I shake the can, feel the rattle echo in my bones, and drag a last thick line of black through the exposed ribs, carving a crack down the middle. There, I whisper to no one. Join the club. The paint fumes cling to me, sticking to my lungs, my hair, my tongue. My fingers are already stained, blue under the nails, gold in the cracks of my knuckles, an accidental red slash across my wrist. I look like I strangled a rainbow and lost. Freedom smells like solvent and cold metal. It sounds like the faint rumble of late-night trucks and the clack of my spray cans. It feels like this, being nowhere I'm supposed to be, doing nothing anyone approved. I lean back just enough to see the whole piece. The beast looks like it's trying to tear itself out of its own body. Relatable. That's the thing about running. Everyone thinks you're heading somewhere. I'm not. I'm just making sure nowhere can catch me. I'm about to sign it, a tiny mark, a stylized T in the ragged edge of the wound, when something in the air shifts. Not the wind, not the traffic. Something tighter. The tiny hairs on the back of my neck stand up, my skin prickling under the layers of hoodie and shirt. My shoulders tense on instinct, muscles pulling taut like wires. My heartbeat, which was doing a lazy drum solo a second ago, stumbles and then speeds up. Someone's watching. Not in the way bored security cameras watch, silently collecting useless drama for the archives. Not in the way drunk kids wander by and squint up at the bridge. This is sharper, cleaner, professional. I freeze, can hovering half an inch from the wall, paint hissing a thin line that turns into a drip. My eyes flick right, left, then down. The pedestrian path under the bridge is mostly empty. A guy walking his dog. A couple arguing quietly near the parked scooters. A delivery bike flashing past like a stray comet. No one is looking up. I exhale slowly, a little cloud of white in the cold air. Maybe I'm being paranoid. Maybe the fumes finally fried the last normal part of my brain. Then, I smell it. It cuts through paint, river rot, gasoline and old rust. Clean, focused, like rainwater over hot stone. Like the first breath after a chokehold. There's something wild embedded in it. Something that should roar but instead is restrained, contained. My whole body gives a tiny involuntary jerk. No, 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 no. I know that kind of scent. Every omega does. It speaks a language of its own, wraps around your instincts like a hand on the back of your neck. Alpha. My grip tightens around the can until the metal dents under my fingers. My legs tense, ready to move. The beast on the wall stares back at me with its faceless non-face like it's asking, "You really surprised?" Of course it's an alpha, I mutter under my breath. Because my life is a badly written drama. But the scent is wrong. It hits my nose, my throat, my spine, and then misfires. My instincts glitch, like someone changed the rules of a game in the middle of my turn and didn't tell me. Alphas are supposed to smell like gravity, inevitable. This one feels off, like gravity trying to pretend it's weightless, like freedom forced into a box. My stomach twists. My body doesn't know whether to flinch, flee, or lean in. Like it's caught between two command lines and both are corrupt. Experimental model, I whisper, bitter amusement bubbling up. Figures they'd send him. I don't see him. But I can map it out in my head, somewhere in the shadows of the bridge, in a parked car with the engine, off or leaning against one of the concrete supports, pretending to be another insomniac with bad taste in scenery, watching, tracking, He thinks he's hunting a runaway. He has no idea I'm hunting him back. A heavy truck roars past, shaking the bridge under my feet. The vibration travels up through my legs, through the soles of my sneakers, into my spine. It jolts me into movement. I pocket the can, swing myself down from the railing, and land on the catwalk with barely a sound. Years of practice. Move soft, like you're apologizing to the concrete, and it won't complain. My heartbeat is still too loud in my ears. Too fast. Okay, Tenn, I tell myself as I grab my backpack. Freedom means movement. So move. I head toward the maintenance ladder at the far end of the bridge. The scent follows, threading through the air like a promise or a threat. I can't tell which. It's faint, but persistent. The closer I get to the exit, the stronger it is. He's not closing in. He's waiting. Smart. I almost smile. Of course the family would pay for someone competent. This isn't one of Father's security puppets or the estate's guards who think hiding behind a pillar makes them invisible. This one knows the city, knows the night, knows me, or thinks he does. As I reach the ladder, a flicker of movement catches my eye below at the far end of the path. A dark figure near the lamppost, standing just outside the circle of light. Too still to be casual. Hands in the pockets of a long coat. Head tilted, like he's listening to the river. Even from here, I recognize the line of his shoulders, loose, but not relaxed. Prepared. My chest tightens. I can't see his face, but the scent rolls up from that direction in a restrained wave, nudging at my senses. My instincts try to sort it: threat, refuge, and fail. It's like standing between two magnets flipped the wrong way, push and pull collapsing into static. Not now, I hiss under my breath, fingers closing around the cold metal of the ladder rail. You're late. You're 2 years too late. 2 years since the experiment. 2 years since a certain Omega volunteered to be remade into something else. 2 years since my family signed papers without asking me what I knew. I swing over the edge and drop down the ladder, palms sliding fast over the metal rungs. My skin burns from the friction, but the pain cuts cleanly through the muddled haze of instinct. This is my city, my bridge, my night. He's the intruder. I land in a half-crouch behind a support pillar, hidden from the lamppost. The air down here is damp and smells like algae and oil. The alpha scent threads through it, stronger now, like he turned his head in my direction. My heart slams once, hard. If I want to vanish, this is the moment. The city's veins are open to me. Alleys, rooftops, shattered stairwells. All the routes I've drawn 1,000 times in my mind, and with my feet. I can slip into the shadows, outpace him, erase myself. I close my eyes for half a second. I don't see the bridge. I see a lab, white light, a boy on a table who smells like fear and hope, and something burning from the inside out. A mistake. A voice in my head that is mine and not mine whispers, "You ran once, and look where that got him." My eyes snap open. I straighten slowly, shoulders rolling back, pulse still racing but steadying into something sharper. Somewhere under the confusion and the instinct and the anger, a thought slots into place with quiet finality. I don't disappear. Not from him. Not yet. I take a breath, taste that wrong alpha scent again, familiar and broken, and step away from the pillar, choosing a different direction than the one my feet want. If Colton thinks he's hunting me, he can keep thinking that. For now, I spot him in the glass before I smell him. The crowd is thick enough to drown in. Neon and headlights and too many heartbeats, everyone pressed close on the sidewalk like we're all pretending we don't feel caged. I drag my hoodie higher over my jaw, hands shoved in my pockets, paint still tacky on my fingers. My latest crime, the faceless beast on the Eastern Bridge, is already shrinking to a rumor behind me, but his reflection walks 2 steps behind mine. Same rhythm, same lane through the bodies. Too soft for a hunter. I veer toward a shop with floor-to-ceiling windows, plastered with discounts, and a giant cardboard model in a suit that costs more than my life. The glass turns the street into a distorted aquarium. I don't look back. I look sideways. There. Tall, dark hoodie, plain jeans, sneakers. Not "I'm here to break your legs" intimidating. More like I'm here to ask you how your day went polite. His hair is short, a little too neat for this part of town. Shoulders relaxed, hands visible. A good boy stance, except the scent. Under the cheap street food grease and exhaust, he's a clean cut of alpha, steady, grounding, like warmed cedar and rain on hot asphalt. It hits me in the chest the way the first breath of winter does. Sharp, unexpected, wrong. Because under that there's a crack. A thin metallic note of lab disinfectant and burned hormones. I know too well. I swallow, throat suddenly dry. Of course they sent him. I'm halfway past the window when his gaze finds mine in the glass. Brown, too clear, too steady. He doesn't jerk or pretend he isn't staring. He just meets my eyes, like we're two people who scheduled this for 8 p.m. Sharp. My pulse flips, my feet don't. I don't run. I smile at my own reflection, at my smudged cheeks, the paint under my nails, the ghost of my beast still clinging to my hoodie, and keep walking. He follows. That would be flattering if he weren't technically a walking malfunction. I slip off the main street into a narrower one, where the lights get lazier and the sounds muffle against brick. There's a vent somewhere overhead piping out steam, turning the air into a hot breathing thing. My lungs are tight. Not from the heat. From him. He's closer now. I can feel the weight of his focus between my shoulder blades, patient and unhurried. This is the part where a normal alpha would close in, crowd me, let instincts do the talking. Instead, his steps slow when mine do. He keeps a careful distance, like I'm a stray cat he doesn't want to spook. Annoying. And a little interesting. I slip into the shadowed mouth of a side alley, where steam curls thick. From a broken pipe and the glow of the street is just a smear. The brick is damp and smells like old rain and rust. Perfect place for bad choices. You know, I say to the darkness ahead of me, not turning around, if you're going to stalk someone, you're supposed to at least pretend you're not. His footsteps pause at the alley's edge. Then, very softly, they come closer. I'm not stalking you. The voice is exactly what I expected. Low, calm, annoyingly gentle. No gravel, no threat. Like he's rehearsed talking people away from ledges. You've followed me for 8 blocks, I say. Either you're stalking me, or you're in love. Pick one, big guy. A small pause. What if I don't want to pick? A laugh slips out of me, sharp and surprised. I turn, finally. He's standing there, framed by the faint spill of streetlight. Up close I can see he's not just tall. He's built like someone who remembers being smaller. Careful posture, shoulders not quite letting themselves relax all the way. His face is ordinary, almost symmetrical, boringly good-looking in a way that would blend anywhere. The kind of face people tell secrets to. Yeah, of course they picked him. I lean back against the wall, feel the cold seep through my backpack. You always open with that line? Hi, I'm emotionally unavailable and indecisive. Can I follow you home? That earns the smallest tug at the corner of his mouth. Not a full smile. More like his face remembering how. I just want to talk, he says. That's all. Creepy sentence of the year, I mutter. Do you know how that sounds in a dark alley? His eyes flick around like he's actually considering the setting. Bad, he agrees. I can step back if it helps. And then he does. One whole, unnecessary step back. Who is this guy? The scent rolls with him, washing over me as if pulled by the motion. Alpha warmth, edged with that sterile tang of something broken. My stomach tightens. A muscle memory from years ago. Needles. White lights. Voices saying it's for your own good. I dig my nails into my palms until I feel skin give. I'm not there. I'm here. I'm Tenn. There's paint on my hands and a faceless beast on the bridge. And this man is not my handler. You're not from around this part of the city, I say, mostly to ground myself. Your shoes are too clean. He glances down, like he hadn't noticed. I can scuff them if that makes me more trustworthy. I snort. Nothing makes you trustworthy. You smell like a contract. Something flashes behind his eyes. He covers it well, but I see the micro-freeze in his shoulders, the way his hand tightens once around nothing. So you're scenting me, he says slowly. Does that mean I can do the same? Try it, and I'll redecorate your face, I say lightly. I'm not giving you my profile for free soft steps. His gaze holds mine, but he doesn't move closer. Soft. What? Soft steps. You walk like you're afraid to wake something up. I tilt my head. Let me guess. Ex-military? Ex-police? Ex... I drag it out, watch his throat work. Omega. The air snaps tight between us. For a second, all the softness drops from his face, like someone cut the wires holding it on. His jaw clenches, eyes going flat, defensive. The alpha scent spikes, a reflexive wall slamming up. My skin prickles. Got you. Then, just as quickly, it smooths. He exhales, and his expression settles back into that careful, professional calm. You're very sure of yourself, he says. I'm very sure of smells. I shoot back, and yours is wrong, stitched together. Someone messed with you. The words land heavier than I meant them to. His shoulders draw in, not like I hit a sore spot, more like I confirmed one. For a heartbeat. He looks tired. I'm not here to discuss me, he says quietly. I'm here about you. Romantic, I say. My heart is beating too fast. I hate that he's not denying it. Let me guess. Your family is worried. They just want what's best. Come home, Tenn. His eyes sharpen. So, you know who sent me? Congratulations. You passed the obvious test. I push off the wall, closing just enough distance that I can see the faint line of a scar near his throat, pale against his skin. Surgical. Controlled. Here's your answer. No. I haven't asked the question yet. You were going to, I say. You guys always do. First it's, let's talk. Then it's, let's walk somewhere quieter. Then it's the car with the locked doors. He watches me like he's cataloging every word, every twitch. And you always run? I bare my teeth in a smile. Running is for people who think they're being chased. I'm not chased. I'm curated. That's not better. It is in my head. Another beat of silence. The steam curls around us like we're trapped in a breath that never finishes. My skin hums with the urge to bolt, to scramble up fire escapes and vanish into rooftops until his scent is just a memory. But I don't move, because under the wrongness, under the alpha edge, there's something else in him. A thread of recognition, of the same cage, same experiment, same gamble. And I didn't spend all these months leaving beasts on walls just to save only myself. Here's the deal, soft steps, I say, voice dropping. You can keep following me, you can keep asking nicely, you can tell my family you did your best. I'll make you look good in your report, promise. His brows pull together. That's not really my goal. Yeah, I say quietly. I know. I take a step closer, just enough that the scent hits full force and my eyes sting with unwanted memories. My heart kicks against my ribs like it wants out. You're walking around with a ticking clock in your blood, I murmur, whether you know it or not. And I don't run from broken things. His breath catches, barely audible. What are you saying? He asks. I give him the brightest, sharpest smile I have. I'm saying this, Hunt, it's not what you think it is. I brush past him, back toward the light of the street, my shoulder barely grazing his. His scent flares, then steadies. I'll let you catch up. I toss over my shoulder. Eventually, I don't have to look back to know he turns and follows. I can feel it, a hunter who walks too soft, and a prey who has no intention of staying prey. The house always smelled like antiseptic and flowers. Not real flowers. The kind bred to look perfect and last too long, their sweetness flattened into something polite. The kind you don't have to touch to admire. The kind that never grows wild. In my memory, the walls are always white. Not warm white, surgical white. Glossy enough to reflect me back at myself in pieces as I walk down the hall, smaller and smaller the longer I stayed. Cameras blinked softly from the corners, red dots like watchful eyes. I learned early where their blind spots were, Learn to count steps between them. My mother called it concern. My father called it precaution. They both smiled the same way when they said it. Strays get hurt, my mother would remind me. Fingers light on my shoulder, her nails always perfectly done. We just want you safe, Tenn. Safe meant sedated. The first suppressants came in pale blue capsules I had to take with breakfast. Vitamins, they said. For mood stability, to smooth out the excess. I swallowed them obediently, because obedience buys you time. Time buys you exits. By 17, the pills changed color. White, then green, then a thin, clear injection that burned cold down my spine. I stopped smelling like myself. My thoughts slowed, like someone turned the volume down on my instincts. My father watched me carefully over the rim of his coffee cup. See? Much calmer, he said. Isn't that better? I learned not to answer questions like that. Once, late at night, I overheard them talking behind the office door. The house was silent enough that every word carried. He needs more structure, my mother said. We can't have him fracturing. He's an omega, my father replied. He needs guidance. And if he doesn't accept it? A pause. A soft clink of glass. There are programs, he said. New ones. Promising results. I backed away before they could hear me breathe. That was the night I climbed out my bedroom window and ran until my lungs bled. Until the city swallowed me whole and didn't ask for anything back. The present smells nothing like antiseptic. It smells like rain-soaked asphalt, gasoline, fried dumplings from a drifting food cart. The street is loud, alive, imperfect. I melt into it easily, my body still buzzing from steam and alpha scent and too close truths. Of course they didn't stop at one tracker. The tug at the base of my skull is subtle at first. A wrongness in the flow of the crowd, like an eddy pulling against the current. I duck into a subway entrance, then out again. Cut through a parking garage, double back along a row of idling cars. Two men in identical dark jackets peel away from a lamppost a second too late. Family security, not subtle, rusty, cute, I mutter, vaulting a waist-high barrier and cutting through a service corridor. I don't want to be grabbed tonight. Not like this. I burst out onto another street, wider, brighter, and slow just enough to look natural. My pulse hammers, but my face stays loose. One of the perks of growing up watched is learning how to perform normal. Then I catch sight of him. Colton stands half a block ahead, near a crosswalk, hands in his pockets like he belongs there. He turns his head just slightly, tracking my approach through a storefront window. Not the guards, me. I stop beside him, matching his pace as the light flicks from red to green. Your friends are clumsy, I say under my breath. They weren't mine, he replies, just as quietly. But I saw them. We crossed together, synchronized without meaning to. His presence steadies the chaos around us, like the city bends a little to accommodate his calm. They like vans, I add. Black, tinted windows, bad taste. I wouldn't have let that happen. I glance at him. You say that like it's a choice. It is. We reach the other side and keep walking, shoulder to shoulder now. His scent is there again, controlled, wrong, familiar in a way that makes my chest tighten. I'm not here to force you, he says. They ask me to bring you back quietly. No scene. I snort. They always want quiet. Makes it easier to pretend nothing broken exists. He watches me from the corner of his eye. You don't have to do this alone. There it is. The line. Softer than expected, but still the same shape. I slow, then stop. He stops with me. They don't want me back, I say. They want me whole. He frowns. Isn't that the same thing? I laugh. Short and humorless. No. Whole to them means trimmed. Sanded down. Fixed. His jaw tightens, like something inside him recognizes the word. The street hums around us, uncaring. Somewhere nearby, a train roars underground. I can walk you somewhere safe, he offers. We can talk more. I tilt my head, studying him. The X-Omega Alpha. The walking experiment. The man who still steps softly, like he's afraid of the echo he might make. I don't trust him. But I understand him. And understanding, I've learned, is a kind of leverage. All right, I say, forcing a shrug. We can walk. Hope flickers, quick and dangerous, across his face. But, I add, already moving again. Don't mistake this for surrender. His lips twitch. I wouldn't. Good. Because if my family thinks sending a broken alpha will scare me home, they underestimate us both. And if Colton thinks he's escorting prey, I'll use that assumption. Carefully. Colton finds me in the bus graveyard because I let him. If I really wanted to vanish, I'd be under the river by now. In tunnels no camera or alpha nose can reach. Instead, I'm standing on the roof of a rusted bus, fingers sticky with paint, watching his silhouette cross the cracked asphalt like he owns the night. Spoiler, he doesn't. The night's mine. The old depot breathes around us. Oil, dust, mold. The faint electric tang of the dead overhead lights that sometimes flicker just to remind you they used to matter. Rows of buses sit in crooked lines, windows busted or tagged, doors half open like yawns frozen mid-breath. I spray the last line on the side of the bus, a jaw of teeth opening into nothing. Subtle, a voice drifts up, too calm, too soft for a hunter. My shoulders tense even though I've been waiting for him. His scent slides in a second later. Wrong alpha, like someone poured sharp lab cleaner and metal filings into what should have been heat and cedar and something steady. I don't turn. You stalking my art now? That's new. My tag hisses into silence. I shake the can, toss it, and jump. The ground rushes at me, impact shoots up my legs. My body wants to crouch and bolt. Instead, I straighten. He's a few meters away, standing between two buses. Plain jacket, plain shirt, plain jeans. If you didn't know better, you'd think he got lost on the way to the grocery store. Only his eyes give him away, too focused. And the way his nostrils flare, like he's fighting his own lungs. You picked a complicated place to meet, he says. Meet implies we agreed. I wipe my hands on my hoodie, smearing blue across black. You're the one who keeps following. Then let's call it a coincidence. He nods at the buses. You come here often? It's such a normal question it almost knocks me off balance. Wow, I say. Is this what passes for interrogation these days? Hey, Fugitive Omega, what's your favorite abandoned infrastructure? His mouth twitches. You going to answer? No. I step sideways, weaving between two buses, not looking back to see if he follows. Of course he does. His footsteps are wrong too quiet for a body that solid. Like he's learned how to walk without taking up space. We slip into the shadow of the first row. The smell thickens, old rubber, stale rainwater pooled in dents, something dead in the corner I don't look at. The path between the buses is narrow enough my shoulder brushes chipped paint. I slow until I feel his presence at my back. Then I stop. His scent hits harder up close, like a program glitching. Alpha, not alpha. Something in between flickering too fast for my nose to classify. My chest tightens. My pulse kicks for all the wrong reasons. My glands hum, stupidly interested. No. My hands clench in my sleeves. What are you doing, Tenn? His voice is closer, pitched low. He knows I know he's there. I'm just checking something. I turn around, forcing my body to stay, not run. The space is so tight we almost bump. I have to tilt my head back to look at him. You ever heard of personal space, Colton? Yeah. His throat bobs as he swallows, eyes flicking briefly to my mouth before snapping back to my face, like he caught himself. I usually respect it. But not with me. You're not usually the one walking into it. Touché. My heart is beating too fast. I hate that he can probably hear it. The wrongness of his scent crawls under my skin, but under that, buried, deep, there's the shape of something the scientists were aiming at. Dominance, focus, pull. My body shifts toward it like a magnet finding metal. My brain slams the emergency brakes. I arch a brow. Give him my best bored look. Tell me something. What? What do you think an alpha is supposed to smell like? My tone is casual, like we're talking about weather, not the way my glands are misfiring. His brows lift. That's a strange question. Humor me. I lean a fraction closer, enough that our breaths mix. My heart stutters, my knees feel loose. Damn it. Go on. Describe it. This is your category now, right? You're the poster boy. Colton's jaw tightens. For the first time since I met him, his gaze wavers, sliding just over my shoulder instead of pinning me. Up close, I can see a faint scar along his neck, thin and pale, disappearing under his collar. Warm, he says finally. Steady. Grounding. His nostrils flare again, and a faint grimace pulls at his mouth. Comfortable. I snort. Comfortable? That's your pitch? He gives a weak huff of laughter. I didn't say I was good at marketing. You're terrible at it, I say. And you don't smell like that. His eyes snap back to mine. There it is, the flinch. Tiny, but real. What do I smell like then? He asks quietly. You really want a review? I tilt my head, pretending to think while every cell in me screams. At the proximity, at the heat of his body in this narrow corridor. Okay. Chemical spill. Burnt wires. Hospital corridor at 3 a.m. When the janitors just mopped the floor after something went wrong. His face doesn't change much, but his fingers curl into loose fists at his sides. The wrong scent sharpens, edges of bitterness cutting through. Honest, he says. I'll give you that. The air feels thinner. My lungs have to work harder, like I'm breathing through someone else's fear. You feel that? I ask, softer. I don't mean the scent. I mean whatever's happening under his skin, in his glands, in that scar on his neck. Colton's expression flickers, 1 second stone, the next something raw. He shifts his weight as if suddenly unsteady. I'm fine, he lies. My body surges with a wave of heat, so sudden it makes me sway. My pupils dilate, sweat prickles at the back of my neck. This isn't mine. This is my system trying to read him and short-circuiting instead. Sure you are, I say. You're just an overachieving alpha doing his job, tracking a runaway omega for a nice fee. Everything is perfectly natural. He exhales slowly through his nose, like he's trying to steady himself. You're the one who chose this place, he says. These conditions, I grin, even as my stomach flips. What? The intimacy is getting to you? Do you need a bigger hallway to feel like a real alpha? That actually draws a real sound out of him. A short, surprised laugh that seems to startle him as much as me. But right after, he winces and brings a hand up, thumb digging briefly into the spot just below his ear, where scent glands are. My eyes narrow. There. What happened to you, Colton? I murmur. His gaze sharpens, wolfish for a split second. That has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me, I shoot back, voice barely above a whisper. You're pointing this broken compass at me and calling it destiny. You don't even know which way you're facing. We stare at each other, breath mingling, the old bus depot holding its breath around us. Somewhere, water drips rhythmically from a broken pipe. A distant car passes on the street beyond the fence, a streak of sound that doesn't belong here. He's the first to look away. Just slightly, like the air between us is too heavy to bear. Come home, Tenn, he says, and it sounds more tired than threatening. Before any of this gets worse, if you only knew. A slow, cold clarity settles under the heat tangling my nerves. This isn't just a hunter chasing a job. This is a man whose own body is turning into an argument he's losing. I rock back a step, giving us both a breath of space. My glands ease, just a little. My head clears. Okay, I say. Suspicion flashes across his face. Okay? I'll let you keep walking me home. I shove my hands into my pockets, shoulders loose, like I'm conceding, but we're going at my pace, my roots, my complicated places. Why? He asks. Because your experiment is already cracking, and my family will tear you apart if they think you're a faulty tool. Because I'm feeling generous, I say lightly. And because I want to see what an alpha who smells like a lab accident does when he starts to melt. His throat works. You're playing with fire. Good thing I like the burn. As we move deeper into the maze of buses side by side but not touching. One thing is clear. Colton isn't the only one being hunted by what he's become. The experiment is unstable, and I am absolutely not running from it. The factory is louder when no one speaks. Every step echoes. Boots on concrete, fabric brushing rusted railings, the hollow whistle of wind sneaking through broken windows high above. The place has been dead for years, but it hasn't learned how to be quiet yet. It rattles with memory, with use. Perfect. I lead Colton through a side door warped on its hinges into the main hall. The ceiling arches overhead like a cathedral that gave up on God and switched to oil and steel instead. Old machines sit gutted and tagged, their insides painted neon and black, transformed into something between fossils and altars. This is trespassing, Colton says mildly, taking it all in. Everything good is, I reply, already shrugging my backpack off my shoulder. I don't look at him when I unzip it. I don't need to. I know where he is. 3 steps back, just off my left shoulder, deliberately not crowding me. He's been careful like that the whole way. Careful not to corner. Careful not to scent too hard. Careful not to feel. I shake a can, the rattle sharp and reassuring. It cuts through the silence like a starter pistol. The wall I choose is already layered with history. Tags half-faded, murals interrupted. Mid-story. Messages written over messages until meaning turns into texture. I like it that way. No virgin surfaces. No lies about starting clean. I start with white. Broad strokes. Fast. Let the body take over while the mind quiets. I hear Colton shift behind me, then stop. He doesn't say anything. He just watches. From a distance that feels intentional, respectful, like he understands this isn't something to close in on. Minutes pass, maybe more. Time goes slippery when paint and muscle memory take the wheel. Finally, he breaks the silence. You don't sign your work, he says. I shrug. Faces are for people who want to be recognized. And you don't. Recognition turns into ownership real fast. The hiss of the spray fills the gap. I feel his gaze on my back, steady but not invasive. It's strange. My shoulders stay loose. Usually, having an alpha this close turns my spine into a coiled cable, ready to snap or flee. With him, it's different, still dangerous, but quieter. After a while I realize he hasn't moved closer at all. He's leaned against a pillar now, arms crossed loosely, weight on one hip like he's in no rush. You always pick places like this? He asks. Places that don't demand anything. I change cans, twist the cap with paint-stained fingers. Places that won't tell me who I'm supposed to be. Silence stretches. Thick, but not uncomfortable. Then, unexpectedly, being an alpha is loud. I freeze mid-stroke. The can hisses a thin line too long. Paint dripping downward like a mistake. I force myself to keep moving, keep my back turned, keep my breathing even. Is it? I say carefully. You seem pretty quiet. A soft, humorless sound leaves him. Not quite a laugh. That's the problem, he says. It's pressure. All the time. Like gravity got turned up inside my chest. He pauses, searching for words. I'm aware of where everyone is. What they might need. What I'm expected to be. I switch to black, start carving lines into the white shape taking form on the wall. Something abstract. Something almost whole. It doesn't feel natural, he continues. Voice low, contained. It feels borrowed. Like I'm wearing a suit that doesn't fit, and the seams are cutting into me every time I breathe. My throat tightens. Diagnosis. Late-stage instability. Hormonal feedback loop degradation. Identity dissociation. Terminal, if untreated. I know the words by heart. I don't say them. Instead, I lift my shoulder in a half shrug. So don't be what they want. It's not that simple. It never is. I step back finally, giving us both space, evaluate the wall. The shape looks like a figure pushing against an invisible barrier, hands splayed, lines vibrating with tension. But, it is that necessary? I feel him looking at me now, really looking. Not at the paint, at me. You talk like someone who's already made that choice, he says. I talk like someone who lived through the consequences of not making it. The words land between us, unchallenged. I add a splash of color, blue cutting through the black and white, wild and uncontained. The image starts to breathe. Behind me, Colton exhales slowly. There are nights, he says, when I wish they'd never offered me the procedure. When I wake up and don't recognize the way my body reacts to things. To people. My hand stiffens on the can. To you, I think. To me. I cap the paint and turn before I can overthink it. He's closer now, not crowding, but no longer hiding the pull either. His eyes are dark, reflective, like glass holding too much light. And yet you took the job, I say quietly. I thought it would help, he says. Being useful. Having structure. Structure is just a prettier word for cage. His mouth twists. You're very anti-cage. I'm very pro-breathing. For a heartbeat, the air shifts, something almost tender hovering where mistrust used to be. His gaze drifts to my hands, to the stains that will never fully wash out. You don't owe me anything, he says suddenly. I blink. That's new. I mean it, he insists. Whatever this is, you don't owe me compliance, or honesty, or trust. I hold his gaze. For once I don't deflect with humor. Good, I say. Because I wasn't planning on giving you ownership. Something in his face softens at that. Relief? Recognition? I step back toward the wall and add one final line, sharp and deliberate. Then, I drop the can. It's late, I say. We should move before your not my guards stumble onto us. He nods, pushing off the pillar. Lead the way. As we walk out together, not touching, not claiming, something settles between us. Fragile, unspoken, real. Not a bond. Not a promise. Just trust. Given freely. Without obligation. And that, I know, is the most dangerous thing I could offer him. The internet cafe smells like burnt coffee and old keyboards. It's wedged between a pawn shop and a closed ramen place. Neon bleeding. Through the rain-streaked windows in aggressive pink and blue. Inside, the air hums with outdated machines and the quiet desperation of people who don't want to be seen at home. Perfect again. Colton stands just inside the door, shaking rain from his jacket, scanning the room like he's cataloging exits. He doesn't sit until I do. Still careful, still controlled. I pick the terminal in the far corner, back to the wall. Paranoid much? I murmur as I log in. Occupational hazard, he replies. My fingers fly across the keyboard. Muscle memory. Old aliases. Places my family never thought to close because they assumed I'd be too scared, too obedient, to dig. The screen flickers. Access granted. The first file opens with a sterile header and a designation code that makes my jaw clench. Omega Alpha Conversion Trial. Phase 3. Colton exhales sharply behind me. That's illegal. So is half the city, I say. Keep up. I scroll. Clinical language. Blood work. Hormone graphs climbing too fast, burning too hot. Notes in the margins, typed like someone was in a hurry to justify themselves. Subject exhibits elevated dominance response. Psychological dissonance observed after week 12. Suppressants required to reduce internal collapse risk. Risk. Another click. Late-stage instability presents irreversible feedback loop. Recommended termination of trial subjects at onset of symptoms. My hand tightens on the mouse. Termination, not withdrawal, not reversal. Erasure. Who showed you this? Colton asks behind me, voice flat. I didn't need someone to show me, I say quietly. I know how to read my family's handwriting. I pull up the final document, highlighted like it's meant to be reassuring. Project status, unsustainable. Note. Return conversion not possible after threshold crossed. I turn around slowly. His face has gone very still. No anger, no fear, just locked. You're lying, he says. I blink once. Wow. Straight to that, huh? This could be fabricated, he insists. A scare tactic. You said yourself, your family manipulates. They do, I agree. This isn't one of those times. He shakes his head, sharp. You want me unstable, distracted, questioning myself. That's a smart move if you're trying to stay free. There it is. The line snapping. I stand, chair legs screeching softly on the tile. Rain drums harder against the windows, neon shivering across the glass. You think I dragged you here at 2 a.m. because I wanted leverage? I ask. You think I need to mess with your head to run? I think you don't want to go back, he says. And you'll say anything to make that happen. Something ugly and hot crawls up my throat. You smell it, I snap, stepping closer. The instability, the headaches, the pressure. Don't tell me you haven't felt it. His jaw clenches. That doesn't make this true. It makes it inevitable. I shoot back. They engineered you to burn bright and fast. You're already in late-stage drift. Silence crashes between us. His gaze flicks away, just for a fraction of a second. Betrayal flashes there, not at me. At himself. You don't know what you're talking about, he says more quietly. You're an artist, not a doctor, and you're a walking experiment pretending professionalism will save you, I fire back. You think compliance buys mercy? It doesn't. He steps back, putting space between us like it hurts to stand this close. You don't get to diagnose me, he says. You don't get to decide my fate. I'm trying to stop it. The words rip out of me before I can soft pedal them. My chest burns, lungs tight. I don't want you to. I clamp my mouth shut. Too far. His eyes sharpen instantly. You don't want me to what? I swallow. Lie. Retreat. Choose any option that doesn't crack this open further. Nothing, I say instead. Forget it. No. He presses. Say it. I laugh, brittle. What, so you can log it as emotional manipulation in your report? I haven't filed one, he snaps. That doesn't change what you are, I say, just as sharp. You're still pointing yourself back to the people who broke you. Rainwater seeps in under the frame, pooling near our feet. He looks tired suddenly, so tired it makes my chest ache. You think I don't know something's wrong? He asks softly. You think I don't wake up feeling like my body is arguing with itself? He shakes his head. But you showing me questionable files doesn't make you my savior. I never asked to be, I say. I just didn't want to watch you die slowly because you trusted the wrong people. He stiffens. Don't dramatize this. Oh, I'm sorry, I bite out. My mistake. Is existential collapse not dramatic enough for you? The words land hard. That's it. I see it then. The wall slamming back into place behind his eyes. Professional. Detached. Alpha cold. I think it's time we stopped pretending this was mutual, Colton says. You're running. I'm doing my job. Something in me splinters. Good, I say flatly. Then do it. Bring me in. Hand yourself back to them like a good investment. He flinches, like I struck him. I won't, he says. Why not? I challenge. Because a part of you knows I'm right. He tightens his fists. Because I refuse to be bullied into doubting myself. I step back. The space between us suddenly enormous. Fine, I say. Don't believe me. I grab my bag, fingers shaking just enough to piss me off. But when your hands won't stop shaking and your scent starts tearing your own. Head apart, I add, turning toward the door. Remember you chose not to listen. Don't walk away, he says. I pause. Rainlight framing the door. This, I say without looking back, is what freedom looks like. Then I step out into the neon rain and let the break finally happen. The medical center doesn't look like a prison. That's the trick. White walls. Soft lighting. The faint, constant hum of machines that promise care, not captivity. Even the air smells curated. Antiseptic layered with something faintly floral, like an apology wrapped around a threat. I know this smell. It slips under my skin the moment I step inside. I'm here to see Colton Hale, I tell the front desk. Voice steady, shoulders loose. Family referral. The woman barely looks at me. Her fingers fly over the screen. Nails immaculate. 3rd floor, she says. Neuroregulation wing. Of course it is. The elevator ride feels longer than it should. Each passing number ticks like a countdown. My reflection in the mirrored wall looks wrong, too calm, too composed for someone walking straight into the thing he ran from. Fear hums under my ribs, sharp and electric. But I'm not running. The doors open onto a corridor so white it hurts. No windows, no art, no sound except my own footsteps echoing back at me. Too loud, too exposed. Halfway down the hall, I smell him. It's faint, chemically muted, but unmistakable. Alpha, wrong, threaded with something metallic and sickly sweet. Suppressed. I stop outside a glass-walled room. Colton lies on the bed inside, wrists strapped down not with cuffs, but with wide, padded bands that scream medical necessity. Electrodes dot his neck and temples, wires disappearing into the wall. His eyes are open, staring at nothing. My stomach drops. A man in a tailored coat steps into my peripheral vision. Smile practiced to perfection. "Tenn," my father says. "You came." I don't look at him. I can't. "You used him," I say quietly. My mother joins him, heels clicking softly. She studies Colton like a painting she's considering buying again. Used is such an ugly word. He volunteered. He didn't volunteer to be dissected, I snap. Father sighs, as if I've disappointed him. "You showed remarkable initiative," he says, nodding toward Colton, drawing him out, isolating him, making him unstable. The words slide into place. "This was never about me coming home. He's an ideal case," my mother adds. "Late stage, but still coherent. A perfect opportunity to refine the process." Refine. I laugh, a sharp, broken sound I don't recognize. "You're killing him." Father's smile tightens. Sacrifices are inevitable in progress. Colton's eyes flick faintly toward the sound of my voice. Just a fraction. Enough. That's when it hits me. This is the ending they designed. The experiment that eats you, and then asks for seconds. "I want him released," I say. My father turns to me slowly. "You don't have that authority." "No, I agree. But I have something you want." Their attention sharpens. "I'll stay," I say. The word lands solid and heavy in my chest. No conditions. No escapes. I'll take the suppressants. I'll come home. Shock flickers. Brief, almost imperceptible. But he leaves, I continue. Alive. Untouched. You wipe his records and let him walk. Silence stretches. My mother studies my face, searching for cracks. "You'd cage yourself for him?" "Yes." Colton's breath stutters. His head turns more fully now, eyes finding mine through the glass. Confusion, then anger, then something rawer. "No." He mouths it. I hold his gaze and shake my head. Just once. This time, I'm choosing. Father's voice is cool. "You always were. Dramatic. Like you didn't train me." Another pause. Then, with surgical calm, "Prepare discharge paperwork." The straps release with a soft hiss. Colton sits up abruptly, ripping electrodes loose. Alarms chirp, then silence as a tech rushes in to disconnect the rest. He stumbles toward the glass, fury blazing. "Tenn, don't do this." I press my hand flat against the barrier between us. "Listen to me," I say softly. "This isn't surrender. It looks like it. It's patience," I correct. "You can still walk away." "I won't," he says hoarsely. "I won't leave you here." "Not now," I whisper. "Later." He searches my face, desperate, furious, terrified. I smile, small, real. "Trust me," I say. "Just this once." Security escorts him past me, toward the elevator. His scent flares briefly, wild and pained, then fades down the hall. When the doors shut, the silence crashes in. My parents stand behind me like wardens. Fear coils tight in my gut, sharp enough to hurt, but under it is something steady. I didn't run. I stayed. And for the first time, the cage didn't close because I was weak, but because I chose exactly where to stand. Morning finds the ward before anyone admits the night is over. The light slips past the blinds in thin, apologetic lines. pale gold cutting through the white like it's afraid to take up space. Machines hum softly, pretending this is still a place for healing. The air smells of antiseptic and sleep deprivation, and a lie that's been repeated too often. Colton is sitting on the edge of the bed when I step inside. Not restrained anymore. No wires, no cuffs pretending to be gentle. But his hands are shaking. He looks smaller like this. Shoulders slumped, skin sallow, dark circles. Under his eyes like someone erased sleep from his schedule entirely. His jacket hangs open, forgotten. And for a second the alpha scent is gone entirely. Stripped down to something raw and human and frayed. Relief hits me so hard my knees almost give. "You're awake," I say. He lifts his head slowly. His eyes lock on mine, sharp despite the exhaustion, and the relief in them turns instantly into anger. "What the hell were you thinking?" There it is. I close the door behind me quietly. "Good morning to you too. You stayed," he says, voice hoarse. "You stayed with them. I stayed, so you could leave. You bargained me like currency." I bargained myself, I correct. I move closer, careful, like he might break if I do it wrong. "Don't confuse the two." He drags a hand through his hair and winces, sharp and involuntary. His body is still protesting the withdrawal from suppressants, the interference, the sudden absence of control. "Sit," I say gently. "I don't, Colton." I don't raise my voice. I don't have to. "Sit before you fall." He hesitates, pride flickering weakly, then exhales and sinks back onto the bed. His shoulders sag like he's been holding them up for years without realizing it. I lean against the wall instead of the bed, close but not hovering. No pressure, no trapping. I learned that lesson young. "You were wrong," he says quietly, staring at his hands. They had injections ready. Protocols. I wasn't a patient. I was a prototype. My jaw tightens. "I know." He looks up sharply. "You knew all of it." "Yes." "How long?" "Longer than you'd like." Silence stretches. A nurse passes outside, footsteps fading. The sun creeps higher, bolder now. "You should have told me sooner," he says. "I tried." "No," he snaps, lifting his head. "You warned me. You didn't trust me with the truth." The words sting because they land true. "I didn't want to scare you into running back to them, I admit." My voice is steady, but my hands curl uselessly at my sides, or make you think I was trying to control you the way they do. He closes his eyes, breath hitching. "So you decided for me." "I decided I didn't want to watch you die, convinced it was loyalty." That breaks something open between us. His alpha scent stirs faintly, then collapses again, unstable, like a system refusing to reboot. He presses his thumb into the heel of his palm, grounding himself. "I don't know who I am without it," he whispers. "Without that." "You're still you," I say immediately. Too fast, too desperate. His gaze snaps up. "You don't get to decide that either." He's right. Again. I inhale slowly, force myself to stop trying to fix things. Force myself to do the one thing my family never understood. "Let go." "I don't want you cured," I say softly. His breath catches. "I don't want you stabilized, corrected, optimized, or put back together into something that looks acceptable on paper." I meet his eyes, unflinching. "I want you back." Whatever that ends up looking like, he swallows hard. "What if there's nothing to go back to?" he asks. "There is," I say, even if it's just fragments at first. "Anger, doubt, fear, choice." "Choice," he echoes, almost disbelieving. "They stole that from both of us," I add. "I'm not giving mine up again. And I won't take yours." The room feels very still. "I could walk out of here," he says slowly. "Disappear. Cut all ties. Let the transition tear itself out of my system on its own." "You could, I agree. It would hurt. A lot. And you'd still stay," he says, watching me carefully. Not a question. "I'm not going anywhere," I say. "Not because I owe you. Not because I'm saving you." A faint smile tugs at my mouth. "But," Because I like stubborn men who smell like bad decisions and unfinished rebellions. A weak laugh slips out of him, surprised and broken. It turns into a wince, then a groan as he folds forward, gripping the edge of the bed. I'm there instantly, steadying him without pulling, without forcing closeness. My hand lands on his forearm, warm, anchoring. He trembles under the touch. Don't disappear on me, he murmurs, not looking up. I won't, I promise. But I won't anchor you either. He nods once, slowly. Then, finally, he looks at me fully. What are we doing, Tenn? He asks. I breathe in the morning air, thin and hopeful and unsure. We're choosing, I say. Every day, sometimes every hour. You choose who you become. I choose whether I stay. And if I fail, I smile, small and real. Then you fail while sitting next to me. For the first time since I met him, Colton relaxes. Not fully, not easily, but enough that the tension in his shoulders eases. The sun climbs higher, painting his face in soft gold. He reaches out, hesitates, then lets his fingers hook loosely into mine. No claim, no dominance, just contact. If you lie to me again, he says quietly, I'll haunt your murals. I huff a laugh. Deal. Morning settles in around us, thin and imperfect and alive. And for once, the future doesn't feel like a threat. The safe place is not safe in any official way. It's a borrowed loft above a closed print shop, dust still clinging to. The corners like it never got the memo that people were moving back in. The couch sags in the middle, the kettle whistles like it's offended by being used, and the windows face east, wide and unapologetic. I like it instantly. Dawn stretches across the skyline in slow, deliberate strokes, turning gray into gold. The city yawns beneath us, unguarded for a moment. For once, no blinking cameras, no sterile white walls, just air and light, and the promise that no one knows exactly where we are. Colton sits on the edge of the bed, holding a small plastic bottle like it's going to bite him. Suppressants, the last of them. You don't have to, I say from the doorway, arms crossed loosely. I'm wearing someone else's sweatshirt, and my boots are kicked off by the wall, laces like tired tendons. I won't disappear if you take them. He snorts faintly. That wasn't my concern. No? I arch a brow. I was worried you'd judge me, he admits. That gets a laugh out of me. Real, unguarded. I watched you wrestle a vending machine at 3 a.m. You're past my judgment window. He shakes his head, a ghost of a smile tugging at his mouth. The morning light makes him look softer, less armored. He tips the bottle, inspects it, then sets it down on the nightstand. I want to hear myself again, he says quietly. I nod. Then don't dull the volume. He breathes out slowly, like he's been holding it since yesterday, or maybe longer, and slides the bottle into a drawer. Not destroyed, just chosen against. A tremor runs through him, sudden and sharp, and my weight shifts instinctively forward. Hey, I say, gentle. Sit that out. It's fine, he mutters, then promptly sinks back onto the mattress when his legs disagree. Okay. Not fine. I hand him water. He drinks, grimacing. You always this dramatic? I ask. You always this helpful? He shoots back, voice weak but amused. We sit there quietly for a moment, the city waking up beyond the glass. The scent shifts slowly, undeniably, alpha heat peeling away like old paint to reveal something familiar underneath. Omegan warmth, subtle, real, his. He notices my inhale and freezes. Is it bad? It's you, I say. Then, unable to help myself, louder than before, a soft laugh escapes him, surprised and unsure. I forgot what that felt like. The tremors pass, his shoulders ease. The tension that used to knot his posture loosens, like a body remembering gravity doesn't have to hurt. He looks at his hands, flexes them. I don't feel fixed. Good, I say immediately. Fixed things stop changing. Still nauseous. Growth is ugly. That earns a small groan. You're enjoying this immensely. By the time the sun fully clears the rooftops, the loft smells like coffee and ozone, and something newly possible. We sit cross-legged on the floor, sharing burned toast and sarcasm. At some point, Colton says, "I'll have to figure out who I am again." "You don't have to rush," I tell him. "You already did the hard part. You stopped pretending." He studies the window, reflection layered over the waking city. "And you? What about me?" "You're still here," he says. "Most people like you keep moving." I think about the bridge, about the tunnels, about the exits I memorized like prayers. I don't feel the itch today. I say slowly, I'm tired of running from rooms that don't lock the door. He nods, like he understands that language perfectly. When he stands, steadier now, he hesitates, then steps closer. Not for dominance, not for claiming, just proximity. "If you change your mind," he says, "I won't chase you." I smile, lean my shoulder against his. Good. I hate being predictable. The city hums on, unaware that something quietly defiant just took root. And for the first time, staying doesn't feel like surrender. It feels like learning how to be heard. The morning I decide to give the beast a face, the bridge doesn't feel like mine anymore. The air is too clean for one. No smoke, no chemical tang of fresh paint yet. Just river damp and early sunlight, and the distant hiss of traffic. The city hasn't fully woken up, and for once, neither have I. My body is here. Boots on cold concrete, fingers stiff around the spray cans, but my mind is back in that white room, watching tubes slide out of Colton's veins. "Breathe," I mutter to myself, shaking a can until the ball inside rattles like a trapped insect. "You're on the bridge. You're not there. You're not theirs." The eastern bridge stretches out under my feet, all rust and chipped paint and old secrets. The spot where I painted the first beast is still here, the concrete scarred but intact. They tried to scrub it off once. The outline stayed. Like a bruise, the city refused to heal. Back then, the beast had no face. Just a torn chest and empty space where eyes and a mouth should have been. Perfect metaphor. 10 out of 10. I pop the cap off the black can. My knuckles are already speckled with color from other nights. I aim the nozzle at the wall. "You really picked the most public place for a private breakdown, huh?" Colton's voice comes from behind me, hoarse, amused, and entirely too close to my spine. I don't jump, not because I'm calm, but because every nerve I have tightens in the exact same way they always do when I realize I'm not alone. His scent hits me a second later. Not that wrong, iron-twisted alpha scent from before. That had been sharp, like metal shavings shoved up my nose. Dominance overlaid on something fragile and panicked, like the world's worst perfume. Now it's softer, warmer, still him, but uncompressed, like someone loosened a too tight knot in the air. I flick a glance over my shoulder. He's leaning on the railing, one hand braced, the other tucked in his coat pocket like he might blow away if he doesn't anchor himself. The morning light does ridiculous things to his features. Sharp jaw, shadows under his eyes, hair still damp from a shower he insisted on taking by himself despite being about as steady as a baby deer. "You're supposed to be resting," I say. "Doctor's orders." He raises a brow. "You're not a doctor." "Internet counts," I say. I read medical files. There were graphs. Colton snorts under his breath. The sound curls around my ribs and settles there. "I tried resting," he says. My body lay down. My brain didn't get the memo. Yeah, I get that part. I turn back to the wall before I start staring at him like some obsessed stranger. Outline first. Big strokes. No hesitation. The beast is still there, faint but present. Ribs torn open, chest a dark, empty cavity. Today, I start with the chest. Is this the same one? Colton's footsteps ring lightly as he walks over, stopping a careful distance away from the fresh paint smell. Same spot, same bones, I say. Different mood, different artist. I tilt my head, considering. Same idiot, slightly louder. His quiet laugh tells me he remembers. Becoming loud again. No more suppressors. No more blockers that turned his scent into static. And my instincts into static too. The can hisses as I fill in the rib cage, closing fractures I once left open. My hand is steady, even though my heart isn't. It's doing that thing again, beating too fast whenever I remember the way he'd looked at me in the medical center, half sedated and still trying to stand between me and my family. Your parents called again, he says lightly. I know. You didn't answer. I know. He's quiet for a beat. The river slaps against concrete far below us. They're losing leverage, Colton says. The board's reviewing the experiments. The fact that you leaked the files helps. I smirk. Helps. Cute word for threw a grenade into their public image. Very precise grenade, he says. You blurred the names of the other subjects. Yeah, well, I only want one of them back, I say, and the words come out more raw than I intended. Colton exhales. It's not quite a sigh. Tenn, he says softly. My name in his mouth still does things to me I do not consent to discussing with myself. I pretend to focus very hard on shading. You know they'll keep trying, he says. Different angles. Guilt, money, lawyers. Let them, I say. They can send all the lawyers they want. I'll spray paint their suits. He chuckles. You're impossible. I'm reformed, I say. I'm choosing nonviolent vandalism. His shoulder brushes mine. I didn't hear him move closer, but there he is, warmth radiating through his coat. He doesn't crowd, doesn't loom like he did when the experiment sat on his bones like armor. He just stands there, next to me. My instincts, those traitorous things, relax. So, Colton says, what does the face look like? I swallow. My thumb has gone numb from holding the can too tight. I haven't drawn it, even in my head. Every time I tried, it felt wrong, like I was committing to a version of myself that wouldn't survive contact with reality. Don't know yet, I say. Maybe I just give it sunglasses. Let it stay anonymous. Coward, he murmurs. You're one to talk. You spent years pretending your nose was broken. That's not. He cuts himself off, then smiles crookedly. Okay, fair. His gaze drifts over the half-finished mural. You could use a reference for a beast? I scoff. What, you gonna Google ugly monster, tragic backstory? Was thinking more along the lines of person who doesn't run anymore, he says, and his eyes flick toward me. My chest does a weird, painful, expansive thing. Air catches. Spray paint hisses a little too long in one spot, darkening the line. Don't look at me like that, I mutter. You're going to make it sentimental. Is that a crime? Yes. Arrest me, he says. The words hang there between us. Not a command, not a joke either. Something in between. My fingers finally loosen on the can. I set the black aside and pick up a thinner nozzle, a softer color. Warm brown, like coffee with too much cream. Like his eyes when the morning hits them just right. Fine, I say. Hold still. He blinks. Wait, you're serious? You wanted a reference, I say, glancing at him. You volunteered. I did not. But he doesn't move away. He stays where he is, shoulder still touching mine, while I start on the face. It doesn't look exactly like him. It's not supposed to. It's longer in the jaw, sharper in the cheekbones, with eyes a little too big to be human. There are cracks running through its features, like porcelain that's been broken and glued back together wrong. I leave the scars visible. Don't smooth them out. Beside the beast's head, I sketch a smaller silhouette. Thin, hoodie up, fingers ink dark with paint. No face on this one, just a turned head, as if mid-step, choosing not to keep walking away. You gave it my nose, Colton complains quietly. That's cruel. Your nose is great, I say before my brain can stop me. Very structurally sound. Structurally sound, he repeats, amused. Is that a compliment now? Take it or leave it. He doesn't leave. His hand finds the edge of my hoodie, lightly brushing the fabric like he's checking I'm really here. The sun climbs higher, turning the rust on the bridge into something almost warm. Below, the river carries pieces of the city away, leaves, trash, reflections. I used to watch it and think, That's me. Gone before anyone can grab hold. Now there's a hand on my hoodie, and a beast on the wall with his nose in my scars. And the city feels different. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I ignore it. The bridge, the paint, the man breathing next to me. All of it is louder than whatever my family can say. Tenn, Colton says again, very quietly. Do you ever regret telling me the truth about the experiment? I cap the can, tossing it back into my bag. I regret not finding out sooner, I say. I regret you getting that far into it. I regret white walls and cameras and every time they told me they knew what was best. I look at him then, really look. The lines of pain are still there, but they're not the only ones. There's stubbornness, too, and something like hope, which frankly should sue him for emotional damage. But telling you, I shake my head. No, that's the one part I'd do again. He exhales slowly, as if some knot inside him finally loosens. Good, he says, because I'm glad you didn't run. I huff out a breath that might be a laugh. Don't get used to it. I'm trying, he says. We stand there, side by side, watching the beast look back at us. For the first time, it doesn't feel like a warning. It feels like a marker, a point in time. Before, after. My phone buzzes again, persistent. Colton glances at my pocket. You should probably... No, I say. He smiles. A small, surprised thing. The city finally wakes up around us. More cars, distant horns. Someone shouting on a nearby street. The bridge is no longer empty, but I am still here. Not hiding, not running, just standing with him. I shove my hands into my pockets and lean back to take in the full mural. Beast, boy, cracks, color. For the first time, the image in front of me feels less like a scream and more like a statement. Freedom doesn't run anymore. It walks beside me,